Alright guys, welcome back. This is part 2 of how to draw a realistic blonde hair. Right. So the first part of the video we talked about shadows, midtones, highlights. Okay. So we're just building everything. So now someone might look at this and say, it's okay, I can add my strands again. Go darker. Don't be scared. Everything looks good. Sorry. Everything looks good when it's a little bit darker, right? So don't be scared to go dark. Try and get that contrast. Right now this feels too faint. It feels too washed out. I don't know if you guys are sorry for the camera shake, but I don't know if you guys are like camera guys who record film and stuff, and you know how there's picture profiles in the cameras, right? If you record in S-Log, C-Log, you know how it looks washed out. That's how this looks right now. And you have to color grade your footage to get back the colors, the saturation, the contrast. So we have to kind of color grade this or shade grade this to get back the contrast and everything. So now that this is done, what I want to do now is focus more on the shadows. If I look at my reference again, which I'm going to put on the screen right now, you can see there's some really dark areas around the side and in between some of the lines. So I'm going to grab my charcoal pencil. Just grab a soft charcoal pencil, right? And then I'm going to go in like this, roughly add in those darker areas that I see in between. You can just, it can be rough. It doesn't have to be perfect, because like I said, once we blend everything, once we add the strands at the end, it will make sense, perfect sense. Now obviously I'm rushing a little bit because for the sake of the video, I don't want to keep this video too long, but I just want to give you guys the idea. But you guys should take your time even more than I am, and have fun with it. But now I'm just indicating where those dark shadow lines are going to be, and just like that. Okay, maybe a little bit more in there, but it's all good. I'm not trying to replicate the reference exactly. Now I'm going to blend this with my paintbrush. But one tip for you guys again, what I do, right, when I apply the shading with a charcoal pencil, what I usually do is I grab charcoal powder. Okay, I grab some of my black charcoal powder with a brush before I smudge this. For some reason it makes it smoother, it makes it darker as well. Right, so right now I don't have charcoal powder, but let me grind some of the black charcoal powder into my container and then I'll be back. Okay, so I'm back. I got some dark charcoal powder, so I used my compressed black charcoal to make some powder out of that. And then so I'm going to grab a little bit with my small paintbrush here and then use that to blend this. So notice how smooth and soft it's making it. The powder helps it do that as well. If I just went in with the, just like this, see how right now this line doesn't seem to want to blend, but say I take some of my charcoal powder and I apply it right now. Look at what's happened. See how it blends in? It becomes very soft. Alright, so that's a tip. If you shade with your charcoal pencils and you want to smudge it for it to look soft, apply some charcoal powder to your brush before you blend it, and then it will make the line or the length. Oops, shit. It will make the lines from the charcoal pencil blend smoother than if you didn't use the charcoal powder. So that's a nice tip for you guys. So I know the hair is going into the scalp, so I'm shading into the scalp like this. Okay, so don't worry, I'm just rushing, right? So it looks a little bit messy, but with you guys, like I always say, take your time, then make it as perfect as you want. I don't try to be too perfect, you know. Okay, so now we have that. I like what I see. Okay, so that's the that's the shadow. And now, because I made that darker, notice how it makes the midtones look lighter now. It makes it look washed out. So we're going to bring back some of the contrast in the midtones as well. Grab my big brush, grab some charcoal powder. I'm using the dark grade of the Jacquard charcoal. I'm not using the black charcoal. I'm using the dark grade from the Jacquard charcoal here, because I know my brush is very soft, so it won't allow me to go very dark. So I'll be able to get away with using the dark grade, because I just want to bring back some darkness into the midtones a little bit, like this. So you notice how everything is starting, the contrast, everything is starting to come alive even more. Okay, so just keep adding. And I think I'm going to do something just to demonstrate what I talked about with, if you go darker by mistake, you can always lighten up the area, so you don't have to be scared. So we all know this is the highlight, right? But I'm just going to, look at this, I'm going to shade everything like this. I'm going to cover the whole highlights and make it look like everything is even with the midtones. So let's say I did that by mistake. All right, let me grab some more charcoal and I'll be back. All right, so I'm back. I got some more charcoal powder because I was running out. So I'm just going to apply, cover the highlights with the, just want to go dark, a little bit darker, so just to prove my point. Okay. So yeah. Oh, look, I made a mistake. I covered the highlights, right? Yeah. We covered the highlights by mistake. Right, so how do we correct this? Remember what I said. If you go too dark, you can always grab your white charcoal stick like this, make powder out of it. So let's just make some powder out of this and then apply this so you guys can see what I'm talking about. All right, so I have some white charcoal powder in this, as you can see. I'm going to grab it with a soft makeup brush that I have here. And now look at how I'm able to lighten up. Can you see? I don't know if you guys can see that, but look how I'm able to lighten up this area like that, just like that. Now you can see there's a slight distinction from this to this. I hope you guys can see that. I can add a little bit more white charcoal in there just to get a little bit more highlights. You see? So, and that's with a soft brush. Now let's try that with a hard brush. Let's see what happens. So I have my harder brush. It's not really like the hardest brush, but it's harder than that brush I was using. So let's see if I can bring a little bit more white. So you see that? Can you guys see how much highlights I can bring back right here? So that's a tip, and it doesn't make it look white where it looks fake. You know, it kind of blends everything together. So one more thing I like to do before I go is reinforce the shadow areas. Right? So I'm going to grab my charcoal pencil and then just reinforce some of the shadow areas right here, like this. Just a little bit, just to get some more contrast into the drawing, you know. because I feel like we lost some of the darkness in there. So then I'm going to go on with my black charcoal powder and my paintbrush again. All right. So now before we add the details, I'm just going to add a little bit more in here like this. Let's blend everything together. Add a little bit to the mid-tones, you know, so notice how we went from a really washed shading, and then we kept building slightly, and now we have something like this. Okay, so this is something I can work with. So now you have the license to go in with your Tombow eraser, which I will find mine. All right, now I can go in with my Tombow eraser, right? And then we can just add some highlights, or strands, I should say. Like that. Just gently, I'm not putting in too much pressure. Just let the eraser glide through the charcoal. I'm not like really going in, like, you know, pressing deep into the paper. So this is where, now you've achieved the tonal values, this is where you use the eraser to bring out the realism, the final piece that's left. Okay, so just letting the eraser glide, working a little bit on the highlights, so you can see. Because one thing people mistake is they look at the strands and they'll probably look at the hair and they make all the strands white. The strands are not perfect white, right? If you look at the reference of your drawings, of your pictures, sorry. If you look at someone's hair, the strands are not 100% pure white. They're like kind of really light gray-ish. So you don't have to go deep with your, you know, pressing really hard with your eraser, unless, like, you know, some of the highlights, obviously if the light is hitting really hard on some part of the highlights, then you can have some really white strands, but most often it's just subtle light gray like that. So just follow the direction of the strands. You don't have to make it look exactly the same, just make sure they flow together. Okay, that will make it look better. So I can go in like that, and go in like this. So I'm just saving the shadow area for last. Just want to get the midtones and the highlights first. All right, so let's just keep adding a little bit of highlights here and there. They don't just all have to be like perfectly straight. You can cross some of them a little bit, like just a little bit, not too much, so it doesn't look weird. Okay, so now obviously the highlights, this side is going to be much brighter than the mid-tone, so let's just add a little bit more highlights into this. I can just grab, you can also use a pencil eraser like this one from Faber-Castell that I use. Do the same thing, they'll probably do the same thing also. But I like using the Tombow because of the sharp edge that you can get. This is more of like a soft, I just want a soft kind of, see? Right, so we have that. Just keep going. I like to clean the edge of the I like to clean the tip of my Tombow eraser just to have a clean edge. Then we go again. So now we look into the shadow areas, we can see the strands go into them like that, then across all the way down. So if you guys want to follow along what I'm doing, I'm sure you can take a screenshot of the reference I showed in the beginning, and then so let's just create more highlights, more strands. That. And you can see how I'm holding the pencil, because if I was doing this, then it means I'm putting a lot of pressure, but I'm holding like almost all the way back, so it's kind of loose in the hand. I'm just allowing the thing to glide on the paper like that. You don't want to create too harsh. I mean, if it depends, if the highlights are harsh on the on the reference, then yeah. So now that I have this, right, I can see there's some extra strands. This looks okay, you know, it looks okay, it's not perfect. I can see some extra strands that like float around, like, you know, random directions. So we can just do that on this. These ones are a little bit more visible, so I can apply a little bit more pressure like that. Okay. So had I had the background shaded a little bit more gray, we can create more strength into the background. But I don't have the background shaded, so I can also use white charcoal pencil if I wanted to. Okay, so I have my white charcoal pencil. I can just go in. These will give me a much brighter highlight. That. As you can see, just play with it. Don't overdo it, just a little bit. Okay, and in between those strands, you can kind of go back, add a little bit more lines in there, just to give the hair some depth. Okay, just to give it some depth. So, yeah, you can see I'm grabbing the pencil by the back, so I don't put too much pressure, because this is a charcoal pencil. I'm not trying to go really black, just adding some depth here and there to make everything come alive. And now we can see the hair is looking much more like hair. Okay. Right, so keep going in between. You can even go back, grab a darker charcoal pencil, do in between these strands, you know, stuff like that. Play with it, and I'm not even focusing on the reference. I'm just kind of winging it a little bit, just to have some fun. And there we have it. All right. So, guys, it's as simple as that. I'll be doing another video soon on how to draw darker hair, you know. So this is the blonde hair, the next one will be darker hair, and then I have a few more, because I know some of you want to learn how to draw afro hair. What else, you know, that, you know, stuff like that. Also, you guys can leave your suggestions in the comments, what kind of videos, you know, I'm going to be bringing a lot of nice tutorials for you guys. How to draw jeans textures, how to draw, someone said what sweater texture in one of my comments. So and don't get me wrong, some of these videos I'm going to be bringing out are going to be challenges for me, because like a sweater texture, I don't think I've drawn a sweater texture before, but I trust my ability to be able to do it. So we'll do it together and then see how that turns out, because once you go by the principle of everything is tonal values and then shadows, highlights, you can create really anything. You can create anything, right? So I'm going to leave the video here. So that's been how to draw blonde hair. Hope you guys learned something from this video. If you haven't, please like the video, subscribe, turn on the bell notification so you don't miss any future uploads, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.